In the criminal justice system, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important groups: the police who investigate crime and the district attorneys who prosecute the offenders. These are their stories.
We're weaker than our fathers, Dupree. We don't even look like them, Charles Fortis wrote in The Dog of the South. Very few things of this modern era are as good as things from 10, 15, 20 years prior. There have been some improvements in some places, but the overall trend is not that good. Our political leaders are dumber and more emotionally craven. The American economy is more fraudulent, and people are more precarious because their money buys less, which makes their lives worse. Even our forces of evil are less respectable and mystique, and filled with mystique. Instead of James T. Angleton, we have attention-seeking viral tweeters like John Brennan as our super spies. We don't even have a Ted Kennedy. We have Chuck Schumer. These are the lumps you take when you occupy the entire planet and your empire falls apart like they all do. You're supposed to decline and feel like shit on your way out. But I think where most people may see evidence of our decline is in our entertainment products. I won't rehash all the ways and reasons entertainment is worse now than it was a generation ago, because we've detailed them exhaustively. But I do implore you to watch Law & Order from years gone by, as we have. Law & Order is unquestionably propaganda. And I think it's more than just pro-cop. It's pro the entire system. The point of the show has always been to tuck you in and make you feel good about everything. But it's better propaganda than any of the Marvel shitheads, Ken Olin, or any of the other current masters of culture reinforcing order could ever dream of making. As a piece of art, it's incredible. It's not as profound as the big prestige shows we've talked about, but what it lacks in gravitas, it makes up for in technical mastery. If Mad Men is one of those French dishes where they torture some poor bird by waterboarding it in liquor and then deep frying it, Law & Order and its subsidiaries are a Big Mac. Everything has been put through a combination of scientific process building and veteran expertise. The result is something you can watch in 18-hour blocks if you really want to, or tune in at the middle, or have on in the background. It's simply the most watchable show of all time. But what is the morality, if anything, of watching the show? How do we reconcile current opinions on cops with the broad adoration of this franchise? Doesn't matter. Let's dive in. So I, like everyone, I've seen a lot of this show. This was a great show to have on. If you were lucky enough to have a computer in your room or a gaming console, this was an amazing show to have on in the background while you played GTA.
Absolutely.
It's, I think something that I think we should just run through the three flavors of Law and Order. The main one and the subsidiaries, because I think they all serve different purposes, but I think we should start first with Law and Order Original, Briscoe and Green.
Oh, baby.
This was, these were fucking amazing. I was, I've been getting a lot in these few days leading up to this, and it's like I got so lost in like season 9 of original Law and Order with Briscoe and Green that I didn't notice I was up till 6 a.m. watching it.
Did you
just sucks you in.
Did you watch any of the earlier stuff though, like the Michael Moriarty shit?
I've seen that, yeah, and it's
before
fun.
Before Briscoe was there, when they had like a George Zunda.
It's fun, but it is so not the same thing.
It's definitely it's a bit stagey. It hasn't found its like cinematic groove yet. Right, like early season Simpsons in a way.
Yeah, exactly. Like Jerry Orbach added a sort of film-like quality. Every episode is like a mini, like 42-minute film about like just some crime and some assholes in New York.
Like the old serialized television in the early days, the old serialized drama shows between cigarette ads.
So yeah, I think everyone listening to this is familiar with the characters and everything, but so there are so many things I loved about this golden era of Law and Order. One, I love that every episode, they do the best thing you can do with serialized drama, which is every week is a look at a different type of like weird New York asshole.
Yep.
Just like how Justified, it's a different look at like, okay, what kind of asshole would be a fugitive from the U.S. Marshals? This is like, all right, one day you have like, WASP bachelorette women. Another week you have like a mafia guy. Another week you have like Russian criminals. Another week you have like, an NYU fashion girl who's like getting a mentally disabled guy to commit crimes for her.
All the like least likely types of murder to occur in any big city.
Yeah,
like about all of them about as representative of urban crime as like the crimes in Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah, no, I saw an episode where a priest killed a neighborhood drug dealer, and it's TV. It's very much TV, but it gave me this feeling about New York that I had as a boy. Well, obviously didn't carry over as a man, where I thought of it as like a nation state. I was so like that was the main look I had into New York, not living there as a kid, was watching the original Law and Order, because it was like, holy shit, there are so many interesting types of freaks here.
Yes. Yeah, it's like, wow, the big city.
But so the thing that's interesting to me about original Law and Order is how not melodramatic it is, right? Like there are these touches of drama, like, Briscoe, him having a daughter who he lost to drugs, little looks into the character's life. Like Sam Waterston chews the scenery in a few parts when he has.
He loves to get up there into the high registers.
Yeah. You're telling me, Mr. Johnson.
No, sir. I believe you're the one who is in fact out of order.
Yeah, and he stands up for this like bullshit like Law and Order liberal, like boomer liberalism.
He's such a great character. He is like, he's like an LBJ Great Society liberal in 80s Manhattan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's like a last holdout. And I think that's honestly probably pretty indicative of a lot of those politics. I mean, those guys are all gone now, but now everyone's like some sort of fucking reptile. But that was definitely a type that he embodied very well.
Mm-hmm. But for the most part, it is like a pretty unsentimental show. Like that is one thing that I caught going around now as an adult was, so every episode obviously opens with a victim, right?
Yeah.
How unsentimental they are about the victim. Like immediately, like Briscoe is basically making fun of whoever got killed.
Yeah, I was like, hey, look at this dude. Yeah. Look at him. He's got his butt in the air over here.
Yeah, he's like, oh, looks like this good. Like there's a 2-minute part of every single episode where him and the coroner are making fun of the person that died. Basically,
like, way to get shot, idiots! They're doing like fucking Rickles material on these corpses.
Yeah, it is vaudeville material. They're like, it's like, what is she?
There's no coincidence there. Jerry Orbach was a legendary Broadway performer before he was on television.
That's why he's so good for this, because he knows exactly the register of theaterness to turn up.
It's like vaudeville, baby.
Yeah, he's perfect for it. But that's the point. The point of this flavor of Law and Order, and this is like, it's the most direct. It's a type of propaganda that doesn't exist as much anymore because it's not specifically marketed to anyone. Law and Order as propaganda, like people call it copaganda, and it kind of is because, you have these likable cops who are probably way more competent than anyone else in real life. But it's about how the entire system works and how everyone in the system is doing their best in an imperfect world, an imperfect system. And they're the only things you need them to keep all this running. And the victims don't matter at all.
No.
It's like, no, like, okay, like most of the time it's just like, it's a piece of shit that died, right?
Yeah.
But it is, they're completely secondary. The primary are the complex webs the cops and the DA and the judge untangle to show that no one's above the system, not even like rich people on the Upper East Side or mobsters or athletes or whoever.
The justice is going to get your ass. You're going to get justicide. The system is going to systematize your ass.
Which is hilarious, knowing what we know now about like Cyrus Vance.
Oh, God, Cyrus fucking Vance. Just get out of jail free cards to every rich freak on that island.
Mm-hmm. But, no, I mean, I have to say, it is the most watchable show of all time. It is when McDonald's develops the perfect new burger, whenever they do that, it's the same thing as Law and Order.
Yeah, it's got
I know this was made in a lab.
story grooves because you've got this very comforting. What's comforting about shows is their adherence to formulas and rhythms, and Law and Order has such a perfect synchronized rhythm where like there's all this variety of content, but the basic story arc is always the same. Someone's dead. Let's look into this. Is this it? Nope. That's actually a red herring. It's this. Okay, now we go to the trial, and then it's a trial. And the second half is just the narrative of the trial, and then there's either a plea agreement or there's a verdict. And then, boom, that's it. Everything has those elements. So whenever you even put it on, you know immediately where you are in the story as soon as you start watching it. Oh, okay, they haven't done the double cross yet. They're still interrogating the first red herring suspect.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the red hair, I love. That's my favorite rhythm of the show because the red herring suspect is always like a completely like unsympathetic asshole.
Yeah, absolutely. You want it to be them.
Yeah, you hate them, but it's actually the guy you kind of like.
Yeah,
it's always that. But yeah, no, it's one of those rare things where the purpose of its propaganda is kind of what makes it a good show, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, oh no, like, the fucking Sam Waterston and Jerry Orbach, they're not as passionate. They're dispassionate enforcers of this order and system that you could never be because you would let the priest off, or you would see this dumb asshole and be like, yeah, throw this dummy in jail. But unfortunately, Jerry Orbach passed away. They had Dennis Farina on the show, who initially tested quite poorly with audiences. He was a very funny character. The guy they had Dennis Farina play.
Well, they wanted to fill in the yuck hole left by Orbach. Yeah,
so they made him kind of dry at first, and they're like, "Oh, audiences hate that, so we have to make him like he was." I should have liked this character because the point of him was he was a loud Chicago asshole.
Yeah. I love the incongruity of that. It's like, oh, guys, hey, I had to come from Chicago, even though, every meal I'm eating either Chicago hot dog or I'm eating a deep dish pizza. I still had to come to New York and be a New York cop for some reason.
You know what I hated about that?
I'm essentially admitting that New York's a better city than Chicago because I moved here to be a cop.
You know what I hated about that character? A, he would never admit, he would never be like New York's a better city. B, he was way too in shape and dressed too well for a cop
for a
from
Chicago cop. It's indeed.
That's
why Dennis Farina became an actor. He was they couldn't keep him around. He was too handsome.
We were like, it was like Good Will Hunting. They're like, you're the only man in like a 10-mile square radius who is under 300 pounds. I want to come back here, and you've gone to Hollywood, Dennis.
They just he wouldn't get the chin, so they wouldn't give him the stripes. Where's your chins? Farina, you get back here with at least one more chin or you're not making lieutenant.
Something funny they did with his character is they had him drive a Benz SL500 and they had him wear like, very nice tailored suits. And it was always like, oh, is he crooked? Like, how can he afford this? And they never explained it. They never did. I thought, they could have done something funny with this because they would do this a lot with characters, like give us a little look into their life. They did this with all the ADAs. One of the most criticized scenes when Republican Senator Fred Thompson fires one of the ADAs. She goes, "Is this because I'm a lesbian?" And he goes, "No."
Yep.
One of the most detested scenes in the entire
series. It's like,
series.
oh yeah, we should give her some sort of character. Oh, yeah. It's a little late for that. Come on.
The thing they did with Jack McCoy to give him a character was, besides all this like boomer Great Society whining, was he had a family tragedy that made him an atheist, classic boomer lib shit. Also, he drove a cool BMW motorcycle.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. So, it ended, they rotated him out for another guy. They rotated Jesse L. Martin, Ed Green out for another guy. Jesse L. Martin, one of the great unsung heroes of TV, I think.
Oh, yeah, he is a workhorse. Big time.
Oh, my God, yeah. I mean, not as heralded as other people, but I would assume he can live on an aircraft carrier being on that show for as long as he did. Yes. But as with any successful show, there are spin-offs, right? And the offspring of Law and Order are incredibly successful. So I think we should first get into Criminal Intent. Criminal Intent.
Oh, yes.
Criminal Intent has a lot of fans out there. There are a lot of people who adore it.
Because that's the one that's most like because there's a big explosion, obviously, in all kinds of cable content. I mean, we've mostly been talking about prestige stuff, but like the mid-level stuff that was on basic cable, like the USA Network, a lot of it was crime-related hour-long dramas, and Criminal Intent was basically the Law and Order franchise trying to do a USA version of itself.
Yes,
with the characters, with like with the big name Getz as the cast, doing like real acting and being twitchy and weird, because they went from Vincent D'Onofrio as the lead for that show to Jeff Goldblum. They were absolutely just going pedal to the metal with like characters wanted.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Monk.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it was very different from a Law and Order original, because like every episode, both with D'Onofrio and Goldblum, especially with D'Onofrio though, would have like a real like acting scene where he'd like get really passionate and mad in the interrogation room.
Yeah,
and
he would do like a good version Hannibal Lecter style mental breakdowns of guys. Yeah,
and this was a very big mid 2000s thing, was having like the criminal profiler who's a genius.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. Yes. He's a little socially awkward sometimes.
Yeah.
He can't make eye contact, and he gets distracted by quantifying things, but he's a damn good cop.
Shows like that were probably America's highest volume export from the years 2004 to 2012, I would say.
Yep. Well, the funniest one is that there were actually two different shows where the premise, one was on cable and one was on network, and they both thrived. They went for years, had the exact same premise, which was a guy is a super genius, like a Sherlock Holmes level genius at like observing the environment to do Holmesian deductive reasoning, but it's easier to trick people into thinking he's psychic.
Oh my God, yeah.
To explain what he knows, because otherwise it's too complicated. And then one was on network. It was called The Mentalist. You bloody mentalist, mate. And then there was the long-running show on USA called Psych. And they had the same fucking premise. That's how many of those dumbass shows there were about quirky, is that the way they had to be like, okay, he has to be special, but not special. You know what I mean? And then they had to like ride that line, and two of them ended up with the exact same premise. And it's just like, you know what? People love this shit so much. We'll watch both of them. We'll write fanfic about both of them, and we'll ship fantasy seasons where they fuck.
Yeah,
where the mentalist fucks the psych guy.
yeah, and they were both like more jokey in tone than Criminal Intent. Criminal Intent was definitely more on the serious side, but
it keeps a scowl on its lips for the most part.
Yeah, Criminal Intent is, I think, the most middle brow of the Law and Order products in that sense. Like it's still a Law and Order show. It's still incredibly watchable, but it's not, by the virtue of being, very middle brow, it's technically higher brow than Law and Order original, but it doesn't feel that way to me.
No.
But Criminal Intent is interesting to me as a time capsule, right? Mm-hmm. Of this sort of Bush era thing where we were obsessed with genius cops, thing we would not be today. But I think it's the least culturally relevant of all these, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's so tied to like the idiosyncrasies of the characters. It doesn't have that staying power of regular strength Law and Order.
And it speaks to this like period of media that only existed for about 7 years, and you probably couldn't really replicate today. Yeah. And I think that SVU is far more interesting, because SVU is, I kind of find it to be the most interesting Law and Order spinoff, because it's the one about American moral panics.
Yes.
SVU is one of the most, like, it's a great, in the same way Law and Order original is. Amazing show. You can watch literally 24 hours in a row. People do it. But it is it's psychotic. It's probably pretty bad for you to do that, because if you watch enough SVU, and people have, and this has happened to people, you will think every single person is a child murdering rapist.
Yes,
like
that there is a network of human traffickers who are just waiting for you to fail to lock the door behind you when you go to your car in a mall parking lot, because they're waiting behind a fucking dumpster to take you away to become a white slave.
Yes. Yeah, I think
like something out of the Police Gazette in 1924.
Yeah, exactly. It is, Law and Order Original, I guess, is evil in the sense that it's selling you this system of like American bureaucracy and shit but it doesn't feel as evil to me now, because it's like, well, that the thing it's selling doesn't exist anymore.
Yes.
Like the Great Society, like even the remnants of the Great Society, they don't exist anymore. There are no more Henry Morgenthau's. It's just all Pete Buttigieg's and like dummies like Bill de Blasio.
It's little fucking rodents. It's rodents and just saps.
Yeah, exactly. There are no Jack McCoys. There's no. You know who Jack McCoy is? It's Ed Markey, and we're so happy to see him.
And we honestly just like build up these like few old like New Deal, Great Society retreads who just never went away. And like the fact that they're alone is a signal, because that you're an extinct animal. You're like the fucking last white rhinos.
Yeah, the Earth is completely populated by disgusting, like crawling little like fish lizards,
resume humping scumbags.
Yeah,
who have totally internalized the meritocracy at a cellular level. It has replaced God.
Yeah. And I am like, give me the dinosaurs back. Give me the Jack McCoyosaurus.
Yes, give me a Bernie, give me a Jeremy fucking Corbyn, just a little as a treat.
Yeah, they're cute. Like, they've not for nothing else, they're cute. Just like a Stegosaurus is kind of cute.
Yeah, they're adorable. Would you like to ride one around? Would you like to visit Jurassic Park?
My favorite was the Apatosaurus, really big. It was like a bigger Brontosaurus.
Oh, shit.
I love those.
A bigger Bronto. That sounds boss.
The big boy. But, no, you want the dinosaurs back. But SVU is the transition between the dinosaurs and the slimy, crawling, fish reptiles on land.
The monsters, the demons.
Now, this was, I mean, talk about made in a lab. I guess, Law and Order, you could call that like the Quarter Pounder or the Big Mac. And SV is kind of like the McRib. It's like, hey, we got this extra product. What's the most enticing way to sell it to people? Because you
sexual terror.
Yeah, sexual terror and sexual tension, because they give it to you first by having these like two very sexy leads.
Oh, baby, just dripping with masculine and feminine energies, to put it lightly.
Yeah, no, Benson and Stabler, two most attractive leads on any Law and Order show ever.
A couple of thoroughbreds, to be sure.
Oh my!
Out on the paddock.
Chris Maloney, beautiful, rippling man. Mariska Hargitay.
By the way, a man who makes balding the pimpest move possible.
Yes,
he's a balding king.
Everyone wants to fuck Chris Maloney. Women, gay men, bi women, bi men, everyone. Mariska Hargitay, same thing. Fucking
literally
beautiful.
Jane Mansfield's daughter.
Yeah, fucking beautiful. She's like, what, like 50 now? She still looks fucking amazing.
Yeah.
She's beautiful.
36, 24, 36. What a winning hand.
And it's not just like, and she's beautiful in a way that's understandable, because a lot of people you see on TV, they're, technically beautiful, but they have there's no sexuality to them.
They don't look like humans.
Right. There's no sexuality to them.
They're just smooth. Like all those people on those CSI shows, and especially the NCISs, they look computer generated to me.
Yeah.
All the people on those shows, and when I see them out of the context, I see them in movies, they look like 3D renders. I don't recognize them. My brain doesn't recognize them as human.
They're reptile creatures. Yeah, no, Hollywood. They're Hollywood made in a lab. Maloney and Hargitay are like, I mean, they're hotter than anyone probably most of us will see in real life. But you could imagine, you've worked in an office with someone who was temporarily there, who is like just so, or like, when you were a kid in school, or like you were working at a bar and some woman came in, or some guy, and it's like, they just had this like throbbing, fucking pulsating sexuality that everyone picked up on.
It cannot be stressed enough that the other big show in the 90s that Maloney was on was Oz, in which he played a bisexual serial killer who essentially everybody in the prison and out of it wants to fuck, including a nun.
Yeah, everyone. A married lawyer with kids is like, I'm gay now.
Yep.
Emanating sexuality, both of them. And, the genius thing is they never really have them together. Like, that's what a lesser product, a Jack in the Box or a Burger King would do. Mm-hmm. McDonald's doesn't fucking do it.
No.
McDonald's knows. They've been there the longest. And, there's more character drama with these two than there was in Law & Order Original. Like, Stabler is, he's a Catholic psycho, right?
Yes. He's a repression machine, which very much makes sense because the whole show is about sublimated sexuality. Like, people watch the show to have weird erotic entanglements with the horror stories at its heart.
Yeah. But this is, so they sort of hook you with this amazing sexuality and these like very cool, intense characters. Like, the most beautiful cop ever in human history in the like lowest body weight NYPD
yeah, seriously,
ever, for sure.
Like, excuse me, sir, I can see your firearm. It's not wedged into your fucking gigantic doughy ass love handle.
Officer Stabler, we see the veins on your triangle dick muscle. You're off the force. But yeah, every episode is psychotic. It's psychotic. And, when it started, it was about things that Americans are usually obsessed with. Like, yeah, oh no, my fucking daughter is going to get kidnapped. My son, they're going to Johnny Gosh my son into the fucking, Franklin credit ring. Yes. They're going to it was like typical, like rapist, serial killer, pedophile stuff that you see. And they went way farther than anyone does on network.
Oh, yeah.
Way fucking farther.
Yeah, it essentially created the fertile ground for, I think, the true crime genre. Like, people like, they got so addicted to Law & Order SVU that it created a market for further wallowing in that kind of tension.
SVU also had, I think, the best, like, sort of secondary characters because you had Ice-T.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Very memorable.
One-man meme.
Richard Belzer.
I mean,
awesome.
Okay, Richard Belzer's television career is one of the most baffling things on earth. So Richard Belzer started off as like a post-beatnik sort of Lenny Bruce, George Carlin, East Village comedian. Like a fucking nightclub guy who would do bits about the Kennedy assassination. And then he got hired to play a cop on Homicide: Life on the Street, a show that I enjoyed very much and I think is an incredibly important precursor to the modern Prestige show. And I thought I was raptured by.
Oh yeah, no, Homicide is incredible.
And then though he was on that show for a while, and then when it got canceled, he just got transferred across platforms to Dick Wolf's universe, connecting the two universes.
Like an actual cop in a precinct that gets shut down.
Yeah, it's like you walk through a fusion quantum like portal between creative universes. Although it was not the first time, because there'd been a couple of Law and Order crossover episodes with Homicide when they'd been trying to get Homicide some, associate cred. But no, Homicide was too difficult for the masses, man. It was too arty. It did not have it was too form breaking. It was not a cop show that had a cop show rhythm, and people weren't interested.
Yeah, no, it is unfortunate because it was an incredible project. And, after I watched some more in between the, our watching list, it's a fucking incredible show. It's incredible. I mean, if we're making the fast food analogies, I don't know, what is it, like Five Guys?
Yeah, you got, one of those, like an In-N-Out or something.
Yeah, one of the better ones.
Yeah.
So it evolved though. Law and Order SVU evolved because you went from standard American moral panics that we've been having since the 70s and 80s, the obsession with serial killers, and you had a little bit of the serial killer thing on Criminal Intent, but SVU was more
there's so many serial killers, man.
Yeah, if you watched enough of the show, you would get psyoped into thinking that 15% of the population of the New York metro area are serial killers.
Yep. And of course, it's like one of the things that you always see in these sort of, popular depictions of serial killing is that the real grim reality of American serial murder is that most serial killers kill sex workers, kill homeless people, kill people who are on the margins of society, people whose the investigation of their murder doesn't give you the rich, like society spanning melodramas that you get out of an SVU plot. So it's all got to be like fucking Freddy Krueger shit.
That's exactly it. Because Law and Order is just like, they made that show right after, Reagan got done taking apart the system and Carter got taken, like after 12 years of, consciously dismantling Great Society, New Deal, all that basic American social democracy. And that show was like, no, the system's still good. People are still looking out for you. They're just making we admit they have no sentimentality for you, but they want you alive. They want justice to be done to you if you're killed or your family member is killed, just so this keeps working. Trust me, there's a hand at the wheel. We didn't just take everything apart. Criminal Intent is like, it's Bush era, second breath of Reaganism, kind of like, not just, they actually care a lot and they're geniuses. SVU is, no, it's so fucking unsafe out there for you. Like you fucking white suburbanite are going to get serial killed.
Yeah, no.
You're going to get human trafficked.
Yep. There is something to be terrified of out there.
Yeah. Yeah. But, SVU changed. SVU went from, there's a different, I guess like the burn rate they had, you would imagine that they killed all 3 million serial killers in the metro area. But it sort of became like culture war issue of the day.
Yeah, because it had to be ripped from the headlines. And in the 90s, that meant like spectacular criminal trials, like Lorena Bobbitt and the dick cutting and things like that, and the Menendez siblings and JonBenet Ramsey. But over time, as crime got less spectacular, it kind of blurs together, we replace it with social, like culture war issues. That has the same, spectacle of politics, and then they turn those things those are the new headlines, and they turn those into headlines, which leads to things like the amazing Gamergate episode. The
Gamergate episode, or the episode that every Reddit guy loved, where Justin Bieber gets shot.
Yep.
When Logan Paul's in it, like it became that show, and I think if I'm really going to put on my conspiracy hat again. Dick Wolf is a genius. Dick Wolf is, he's Werner von Braun, isn't he? He realizes, okay, culture is changing. All these critics are on Twitter. How do I keep my cop show not just, profitable, but culturally viable, like a cultural staple? He's a genius in that he makes culture war episodes, but he makes them kind of camp.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like American Horror Story where it's like, hey, look, it's camp, you fucking idiots.
Yeah.
It's like just enough. It's just ridiculous enough that people who like post about, correctly want to defund the police still watch it and talk about it and post screen caps of themselves watching it, and no one yells at them.
Yeah.
Because it's just camp enough. It takes enough of the headline and makes it ridiculous enough. The same reason that like no one seriously can cancel South Park.
Yeah, it's uncancelable. Yeah. No matter how many people decide to put out a 10,000 tweet thread about how it's literally responsible for second Kristallnacht.
I saw somebody say...
We need to hold Cartman accountable.
Cartman's a great guy in real life, first of all.
I think that you need to seriously consider that we need to hold Cartman accountable.
Cartman was knocking on doors in Georgia for Warnock and Ossoff. Didn't even make a big deal out of it. Amazing guy.
He tried to reach out to TSA and they fucking said no. They wouldn't help him.
They don't know what a nice guy is in real life.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up.
But yeah, no, Law and Order is uncancelable in the same way. I mean, it's uncancelable because it's like in the same way that you couldn't cancel like the CIA. It's
there. It's a load bearing member. You can't get rid of it.
But even people who, are, say ACAB, and are very against, they'll still watch it and they'll still laugh about it and talk about it all the time because it's just Dick Wolf, the genius, the god, and all the other Strangeloves at his table are like, no, we got to turn up the ridiculousness just a little bit. Because if it was still about, serial killers and all this shit, like, yeah, there would be articles and shit like what you brought. Like, people would be like, no, actually, these people usually kill sex workers. People. I'm speaks to what a genius Dick Wolf is. That no one's made the SVU QAnon connection.
Oh my God. How Stabler didn't end up crusading against. The problem is that they can't take that kind of stuff. They have to take that shit seriously. Like at that level of cultural production, they would never take the QAnon worldview seriously. It is too antithetical to them. They would make him a crusader against QAnon, even though he is literally the model that these people make themselves of. They think that they're fucking Detective Stabler. All the people in Pizzagate and QAnon think they're Detective Stabler.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that's like not even the shittiest liberal culture writer has been like, Law and Order SVU gave us QAnon because it told us there are human traffickers everywhere.
Right. Yeah. It's an argument you can make, but nobody's interested in it because it's too soothing. They love their stories too much.
Yeah, I've seen dumber arguments made. I've seen people say that American anti-Semitism exists because of South Park, which is...
God, that's so good.
I mean, they're both stupid arguments, and I disagree with both, but like, God damn it, that's stupid. That is so fucking stupid. It is but that sort of got me thinking the last few days. So we're recording this around the time that, Fuddruckers Brigade stormed the Capitol in the scariest event ever. And I was thinking a lot about, propaganda. And I kind of used to be of the opinion that Law and Order was this special evil, right? Because it made people believe in cops in this way they shouldn't. But now I don't think I believe that. To elaborate on it. I think people's relationships with cops, especially like white people, especially like more like well-off or comfortable white people, like some of the people that stormed the Capitol, their relationship to cops is sort of the inverse of people's relationship to Congress. And by that, I mean, Congress, every year, they reach a new low in approval ratings. But people's approval ratings for their own congressmen are always very high. Mm-hmm. They hate the institution, but, I have the one good one.
Yeah.
My guy gets money for our district. If they're politically involved at all, they usually seem to think that. People have, I think, this opposite relation with cops, where it's like they love it in the abstract. And, the richer you are, probably, the more you're like, well, I love them because they maintain order. They keep people like me safe. They keep the fray out. But usually when anyone has an interaction with a cop, unless they're like, a Les Wexner type who literally owns the cops, that seems to go south. These QAnon people and the fucking Stop the Steal people in DC, they had one interaction with the cops and they're like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
I thought you worked for me.
Yeah. And I'm not going to go 50 minutes on, cops' relation to Capitol, but it's like, it's safe to say, no, they don't necessarily work with those people, even if they protect their interests at times. And, almost anyone is liable to be on the bad side of a cop's bad day and get blown away with no repercussion.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely none. And yeah, I'm very strong in my belief that, culture is downstream from politics. But I used to make an allowance for Law and Order because I thought it was so pervasive and such an institution that it completely changed American opinions on law enforcement. But no, I don't really think that anymore. Like, what do you think had more in effect, the fucking crime bill or Law and Order?
Right. I mean, it's just at a certain point, things are just an expression of a reality. Like if you're going to depict, because we're socially fascinated with it as a subject matter, if we're going to depict police authority, then we're going to have to depict it as it is being understood, and as it's being understood as this force, to protect you against an ever-present threat, and that rights that you might have are always contingent on the greater good of protecting the herd from the ravening wolves.
Right. Do you think that Obama says I'm really good at killing people because of Zero Dark 30, or do you think Zero Dark 30 exists because he says that and believes that?
Right. Yes.
You know, and yeah, Law and Order. I mean, the reason that the original Law and Order, that the one that that one doesn't run anymore, is because it is propaganda about a system that doesn't exist anymore. That river got dammed. You cannot realistically make a show that people watch about something that is no longer real. You can't, or at least you can't make it as popular. You could make, like, I guess, a Mad Men style show about like 1960s or 70s or 80s New York, but it's as much of a figment of the past and a false set piece as, you know, anything on Mad Men would be. You have to make SVU because that's the current argument for cops. Yeah. That's the thing running downstream. It's like, oh no, all these culture wars are silly, but actually, they'll kill you. Gamergate will fucking kill you.
Gamergate will kill you if the cops don't stop you.
Justin Bieber's gay.
Justin Bieber's gay as hell.
Yeah, all this shit's gonna kill you. You need some type of order. And rather than people have that opinion because of Law and Order, I think Law and Order SVU more reflects that message from our politics and from people themselves.
Yeah.
I like, you know, when you see ostensibly liberal people go, like, all these people at Capitol, like, let's call them terrorists and let's, you know, fucking kill them. That's a reflection of a politics where the solution to every problem is to fucking kill everyone or arrest everyone.
Yeah. It's the only power the state actually can wield, is the power to repress. Everything else is determined by the market. Everything else can't be helped because the system prevents it, but the system also allows everything else, so it can't be done away with. You can only punish.
The Law and Order shows were enormously successful because they're great shows. And we've gone into the reasons why SVU is so specifically successful and long-running. But also, the thing you need for a successful show is tens of millions of people to watch it and love it. And tens of millions of people don't watch and love a show that is still essentially about how great and brave these cops are and how they protect us and how this system protects us without people telling them that that's the case.
Yes.
And no, this was all very instructive for me to watch this week. And I am sort of glad it dispelled me of that opinion. But you know, I also don't really, you know, in the same way that I don't really think you're morally compromised at all for watching fucking God, why is it this name escaping me? The Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder Blazing Saddles. Or, you know, Tropic Thunder for that matter. I don't think it makes you bad to watch this either. They're all downstream of something, or they're just fucking jokes. But I do, you know, as we wind down this episode, I do wonder. You know, we this is basically the informal way we end every episode. Why can't this be made today? I think for Law and Order original flavor, the reason you can't make this today is because there actually is no system. There's nothing. It's just fucking bullshit. It's just like holograms and algorithms.
It's just a bunch of sassafras.
Yeah, you can't make a show about how the system works because there isn't even convincingly any system to any of this.
That's true. How can you portray state capacity in any way that can be realistically recognizable as corresponding to reality by an audience? You got to make everything into science fiction?
Right. Yeah. No, you can't.
That's what the damn Marvel universe is.
Yep.
It's creating a false version of a world where all this stuff works. And the fact that you go in there and get your brain massaged by that shit fucking 8 hours a year and like your brain just being turned into putty by surround sound is so you can imagine, oh yes, this is basically our world. That maybe it could be more like this, but we're okay because we're essentially, how many people like to talk about how like American values are reaffirmed by the Marvel movies, and like I read the movie Bob say that Captain America, Chris Evans's Captain America performance saved American credibility during the Trump years and made people believe in America again. Like that's how they're relating to this stuff. Like, this is the stuff that gives us, it assuages us. It's, you know what it is? It's that machine that Temple Grandin built to hug the cows before they put the fucking captured bolt between their eyes.
And it's so interesting that's what took the place of Law and Order Original, because Law and Order Original is about process, right? But Marvel is the disaster happens. Like, literally in one of them, they wipe out half the population of the universe.
Yeah.
But like, literally people with superpowers whose brains are made up of mic articles fix it by being gods.
Yep.
Like that, if that doesn't show a complete lack of politics, you know what? Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, is that superhero shit is the abrogation of politics. It is, because it is a literal child's fantasy.
Yes.
I mean, these things have historical bases, and the historical basis of superheroes is, how do we get young men to pay for something, an entertainment, and what do they want? And what they wanted was something that was a fantasy of power. During the fucking Great Depression, people wanted that shit. And
absolutely.
So a child's idea of power, which does not allow for politics because it assumes overawing power that destroys the need for politics. And then everything else just becomes, well, how do you manage that? And that's fine for kids, but it cannot be the entire like mental architecture of like the pseudo reality that comes closest to like our cultural conversation, such that it even exists anymore.
Right. And again, you know, downstream from politics, that can only happen if there has been an elimination of politics at the highest level.
Yeah.
But I will say, I have to end this with sort of a Groundhog Day type test. I don't think it's impossible to make an SVU now. I think you can make a show about some sort of maintenance of order. I think, you know, as great of a combo as Benson and Stabler were, I think you can. I think out there are some actors now, maybe we haven't heard of, maybe they're character actors here and there, maybe they're on Broadway, as some of them were, that may have that charisma and sexuality that can portray that intensity. Maybe you can even make them cops. I don't know. But if they can make another SVU, another show like that it's not so much about how the system is great and functional like the original Law and Order is, but is sort of about like, well, justification for why you need these people here. If they can do that, if they can make another one in the next, 10 years, then we get 50 more years of Empire. Mm-hmm. If they can't, it's ending any day now.
Yeah.
Whether we see it all goes back to whether we will see our own shadow or not.
Yeah.
If the capability does not even exist to make that, it's done. Get ready to see Fall of Sagan every fucking day.
Well, won't that be something to look forward to then?
Yeah, then you can make a Marvel movie where like Captain America argues with the people taking apart the embassy.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
He just has some soy pants.
They should do that. Do you remember last year when those people in Iraq like destroyed the fucking American embassy there?
Oh yeah. They ransacked that motherfucker.
I bet there is going to be a scene. It's either going to be in Call of Duty or a Marvel movie. If it's in Call of Duty, it's going to be like, you're just going to kill every Iraqi doing that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So defend the embassy.
Right. Or if it's in Captain America, like they'll do it for some like Thanos trick them into doing it.
Yeah, Thanos is doing it, or it's the Skrodobians who are opposed to like the Shield's extension of NATO treaty obligations.
Yeah, and then Captain America will like kill the bad guy, but then like use love and compassion on the protesters.
Yep.
God. They're going to make some dog shit because those embassies are falling. I don't know if it's in the next 10 years. I don't know if it's in the next 50. But rest assured, the last gasp of the life of the empire, the last little pulse beats are going to be some fucking dog shit in front of a green screen about it.
Yep, we will be advertising it to ourselves as we go down, because until the end, the succor of it being abstracted into entertainment will be more pleasing than confronting the grim reality in front of us.
Yep. Well, get ready for season 18 of this show when that happens.
Yes.
And we review all the Marvel movies.
Yes. Maybe we could review those other Law and Order shows that neither of us have ever seen. The one about the one Trial by Jury, that's one case gone over the whole season.
Oh my God. Who the fuck watches that?
Law and Order Los Angeles. That was a briefly extant show. Yeah.
Yeah, those were all like the children of royalty who die before they're 5.
Yeah, that was they over expanded. That's like when Five Guys went from being a regional DC area chain to having 3,000 fucking hamburger stands in 5 years, and then like a third of them went under.
Yeah, same thing happened with Krispy Kreme.
Exactly. Yeah, the overexpansion.
Yeah,
got to find your levels, guys. Don't get too crazy about it.
Yeah,
that's something we all could have learned in this empire of ours. Hey, maybe hold back. Settle down. Maybe everyone doesn't need to have a fucking hot donut in their mouth. Maybe just let it live organically, not try to shove it down everybody's face by fucking borrowing a bunch of money to just go for a giant grasp at like leveling up into billionaire status.
If you are in the highest levels of the PRC, or not PRC, if you're at the highest level of Chinese Communist Party and you're hearing this, and the embassies are already falling, okay? Like, it's officially your time. We all knew it was coming.
Yes, of course. The day of the dragon is at hand.
By the way, we do want to advertise our services. We are traders. We will bring podcasting expertise to your country. We would be happy to. It'd be our honor.
I am willing to have a discussion on the whole question of socialism with Chinese characteristics in exchange for some sort of public platform, some sort of gaming area at maybe Shanghai, somewhere like that.
Yeah, no, I don't need much. It's just an Olympic platform, nice PC. Yeah, that's it.
Like a nice office we can do bants in, and then just remind the youth of America that it's fruitless for them to try to fight, that their country is weak and must be destroyed.
Yeah, we'll do the same thing we do now. We'll make fun of American media products. Like, offers on the table, guys. You can take it. We totally understand if you don't. Like, no offense.
No, I get it, but like they really need to start thinking about soft power. That's one place where the U.S. still has the real whip hand, is that the U.S. is unparalleled in soft power. Come on, China. Tag us in. We're here. We're ready to help spread some soft. It's soft, by the way, China.
But that is our message to you. If we can give you any piece of advice, that's the only piece of advice we are even qualified to give to you. Don't try to give everyone the donut at first. Don't do what we did.
Don't explode your donuts everywhere.
We think you guys know that, but we just, want to make sure. Again, our resume, we left our resumes on the table. Let us know. Get back to us. Or don't. No offense taken.
It's all in the great helmsman's hands, and we respect it.
Yeah. But, as always, I'm Felix Biederman.
Matt Christman.
And, maybe coming to you live from Guangzhou one of these days.
The East is red.
Yes.